Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Today, as promised, we're going to be talking about the saintly character of a devotee who doesn't act like he's saintly. We're going to try to make sense out of that. That was a question that we couldn't answer yesterday. We had a discussion, and we had many questions yesterday, and it came to this point of a devotee. What if we can't respect them because of their behavior? And then I promised we would read commentaries of Vishwanath Chakravarti 2, verses 9, 30, and 31. So we're going to do that. But we also have many questions. But I want to let less light here. Okay, is that better? So I'm assuming you can hear me well. Oh, there's a lot of light. Yeah, interesting. The skies are so bright. Brighter than ever. So, what I thought we would do is we still had questions. That was one question that I was going to answer. But before I answer that question, we had other questions yesterday that weren't answered. And to answer the question about how is it that a saintly devotee can sometimes act not like a saintly devotee, it's going to take a little while. So I wanted to save that for the body of the class. And I thought we could first answer the questions. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Whoa. There's 8 other questions, I think. 8 other questions. And so, Kamaniya, I think perhaps what would be the best is as I go to the questions, then you just put that question up one at a time. And I'm cleaning my office. So this is where I normally have the keyboard, right over here, that you can see. That I was cleaning out this drawer, and that's what was in the drawer, kind of. So I had to stop last night while I was cleaning because we had a class for devotees in Dominican Republic. So, and then after the class, I went up to my house, and you'll be proud of me. Look behind me. Look how neat my bookshelves are. One. There's another one there. I have so many books. I have like this many books in the house and this many books in Mayapur. And that's my weakness. I collect books. So we'll chant Jai Radha Madhava with our voices as instruments. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kupi Janavalava Girivaradhari Gopi Janavalava Girivaradhari Jasada Jashodhanandana Brajajanaranjana Jashodhanandana Brajajanaranjana Jamunatira Banachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Sisi Radha Madhava ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Nitai Gopremanandi Hari Hari Bo. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripashnavayeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangulangayate Girin Yakrapatamaham Vande Siguru Dinatarinam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu-Nityananda Shadhaita Gadadhar Shivashari Gaur-Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So, Kamaniya, we have the question from I don't know how to pronounce your name, but I'll pronounce it as if it were English. Alvidya. And you want to put that question up, and then we'll deal with that question first. This question, I think it came up in relation to what we were talking about yesterday, how Krishna said, don't disturb the minds of ordinary people. And then I said, well, that's what we do. We at least we interfere, maybe, in a sense we disturb, why are you bothering me? Go away. Hare Krishna. So in a sense, we are disturbing them. And then, so she asked this question, and maybe that was a confusion about how to deal with her husband. So, Vijay Lakshmi, we're going to get to your question at the end. So this is her question. I'm going to read it off my computer. It's easier. I have the questions on my computer. Easier for me to read from my computer. I became Krishna conscious and would like to take a spiritual teacher. My husband doesn't understand. For him, I am a sect. I'm in a sect like a cult. You are brainwashed. Making him prasadam, I don't disturb his life, as to how to be in a family. I have a strong desire to be initiated. Yeah, don't disturb him. Just be an example. A lot of times, example is the best preaching. And a lot of times we mistake trying to force our family members, forgetting that it's kind of interesting. It's like we kind of act, in trying to force them, we kind of act sometimes in ways which disturb them. And they're looking at us and say, oh, now you become a devotee, you're disturbing. You've become a big disturbance in the family, you're bothering everybody. There's a funny story. This Catholic, I don't know if he was a priest, Catholic monk comes home. And so he's staying with his mother, and he rarely comes home, so it's a big thing for his mother. And he was probably like 50 at that time. So every morning he prays, and while he's praying, she knocks on the door. You need anything? Harry, you need anything? No, I'm fine, Mother. And then she comes, back. Here, I left some fruit for you. Thank you, And she keeps coming back, and he's praying. And then at one point he got so upset. He just, leave me alone. Stop knocking on the door. So when we act that way, then people think, oh, you were nicer before you were a devotee. Now look at you. You're impatient. You're always preaching to everyone. You're fanatical. So the best thing for family members is to set an example. And yes, give him prasadam. And don't try to force him. Men don't like to be told what to do. And they certainly don't want to be forced religiously. So it's even in a sense true after they're devotees. It's hard for the wives to force their husbands. So it just be nice to him and show that Krishna consciousness is making you a better person. And he'll be happy. You have to make sure he's happy, and then pray that he'll understand and appreciate Krishna consciousness. At least if he can appreciate it, that would be good. And that he'll support you. And don't act like you're in a sect, crazy. And as far as a teacher, yes, we all need teachers. We all need gurus and teachers, and Krishna will reveal, if you're sincere, who that person is, and you work under their guidance. And but sometimes when a woman has a guru, her husband could become jealous because she may serve her guru more nicely than she serves her husband. So if and when you have a guru, be careful that, of course you should serve your guru nicely, but sometimes if you become a little too fanatical, then you forget to cook for your husband because you're too busy serving for your guru. But that's not good. Okay. So I think you get the idea. If you have further questions, you could ask. Okay, so we have the next question. This is from Pooja. Simple questions she's asking. Common problem. When I do japa, my mind, lots of disturbance. Or loads. It's either misspelling loads or lots, but it's the same thing. Lots of disturbances come. How to get rid of it? I think you mean distraction, right? Or do you mean, are you here, Pooja? Are you on this? Do you mean distraction or disturbance? If you say disturbance, then it sounds like you're already disturbed. Or are you saying that by chanting japa, I become disturbed? That could happen. Or are you saying I become distracted? Well, in either case, when I chant japa, I become distracted. But no, you don't. We don't become distracted when we chant japa. We just become aware that we're distracted. We're always distracted. Unless we're watching movies, then we're not distracted. Then we're like, when I watch movies, I'm in samadhi. My wife was once watching something, and I was trying to talk to her, and I couldn't talk to her. I'd be talking, and she'd be like she didn't know I existed. So yeah, when we watch movies, we go into samadhi. I don't know what she was watching. Something was absorbing her. It was funny. Today it's water with apple cider vinegar. Very healthy. Very healthy. You remember, did I tell you the story yesterday? I think I did. I gave 2 classes yesterday. I gave 4 on Sunday, 2 yesterday, and then 2 on Saturday. I can't remember who I told what, but it doesn't hurt to tell it over again. That Prabhupada was telling a devotee about Krishna Lila, and Prabhupada said, Do you see what I'm saying? Devotee said, no, Prabhupada, but I want to see. Prabhupada said, I want to show you. So that's a nice meditation. I find it's a nice meditation when you're chanting that Krishna's in his name, and my mind may be all over the world, or my mind may be disturbed, whatever the case, and I may not be really realizing Krishna's in his name, but he is. And just that meditation that Krishna's there, but I don't realize it. Prabhupada, please, Krishna, please, Mahaprabhu, please, Gurudev, please, can you reveal that to me? It's kind of like, I tell you how to make $1 million. I say, here's the formula. And if you do it, eventually you'll make $1 million. And so you're thinking, okay, I have to do the formula. Will I make my $1 million today? Is today the day that it's going to happen? When's this going to work? How's this going to work? So it's a nice meditation. And who asked the question? Pooja. I think sometimes when we ask questions, and this is for all of us, sometimes when we ask questions to another devotee, we should think for a moment, okay, if somebody asked me that question, how would I answer? So like Pooja, you're asking, when I do my japa, there's lots of disturbance, how do I get rid of that? And then you could think, if somebody asked me that question, what would I tell them? Sometimes you can answer your own questions that way. You actually have the answer, and you don't realize it, but you just haven't thought about it more deeply, and you think, well, you could say some prayers before you begin chanting to absorb your mind. You could read something about the holy name. You could turn off your phone. You could go somewhere where you're not disturbed. These things will naturally come. These are practical things. They'll naturally come to your mind. And then there's the internal, what I was talking about. Praying for the holy name to reveal himself. Holy names to reveal themselves to me. To allow me to taste. Krishna, please let me taste something when I chant your name. Hare Krishna. All right. Excuse me. So it's a very, my friend of mine, some of you know, Akura, he sometimes uses this technique. So I will use the technique on you, Puja, that Akura uses, and it's quite funny. And it works. It works often. So Puja asks the questions in my mind, I'm distracted or my mind's disturbed when I chant. What do I do? And then Akura would say, Puja, if you were a world expert on chanting japa, what would you say? Hypothetically, if you were a world expert on chanting perfect japa, how would you answer that question? So he was doing a counseling session, and he did this with a devotee. Devotee had a question, some problem he was trying to resolve. And Akura said, if you were a world expert on disturbed minds, on the mind, how would you answer this question? Assuming the question was about a disturbed mind. And then he walked out of the room. And then he came back 15 minutes later, and the devotee was laughing. He said, why are you laughing? He said, because the answer was so obvious. Like, I knew the answer. It's like, I didn't have to ask you. I got this incredible answer. So, of course, we know that's super soul. But that's something sometimes you could try. You ask yourself, if I were a world expert on japa, how would I answer this question? That how do I control my mind when I chant? Like, what would you say? You'd be amazed. You'd be amazed at what may come up. Sometimes you may hit a brick wall, a blank. You may go blank, but often you will come up with something amazing. And then after you come up with something, you can go into the mirror and look in the mirror and say, you are amazing. And you can say that humbly because Krishna in the Gita says, you, the soul, are amazing. Ascharyavat. Okay. So you got two benefits. You got my answer, and then you're going to get your answer now. Kishori Mani from the end of the universe in Chile. I guess it's not so Chile there now. Is it Chile? Is it chilly in Chile still? It's chilly here in Alachua, and it's almost May. It's like, who can understand what's happened? You see how I'm dressed? This is May. I'm supposed to be like sweating right now, hot. And it's like 10 degrees outside. Celsius. How to differentiate the fact of not thinking of myself as the center and maintain a healthy self-esteem. It is very easy for some devotees to confuse Krishna consciousness with despising their own existence and preaching that. Yeah. Okay, so let's distinguish. Actually, putting Krishna in the center doesn't mean neglecting yourself or berating yourself. So let's think of it like when a boy and a girl fall in love. And if you've never fallen in love, then I have to explain what it's like. This is what it looks like. Yeah, it looks something like that. And what does that mean? It means you're thinking of that person all the time. Like, wherever you go, whatever you do, I'll be right here waiting for you. You're thinking of that person, even they go away. You know that song, That was such a good song, because that's what the gopis said when Krishna left Vrindavan. Wherever you go, whatever you do, I'll be right here waiting for you. Oceans apart, day after day. So, when you're in love, all you do is think about the person. But when you're in love, you feel good about yourself. That person, because the person loves you, you feel really good about yourself. And they feel really good about themselves because you love them. And you're always thinking of them. So, in loving Krishna, it would never demean ourselves. We would feel better. And so, when you love that person, all you want to do is, you want it, like whatever money you have, you stop spending it on yourself. You just want to spend it on them. Whatever time you have, you don't want to utilize it for yourself. You want to utilize it for them. Whatever problems you have, you'd rather solve their problems. So you're totally out of the center. But it's not demeaning yourself. It's have you heard that saying that if you lose yourself in service, you gain yourself? I think it's a Boy Scout saying, but of course it has a philosophical implication in Krishna consciousness. If you lose yourself in service, you actually gain yourself. Human life is meant for performing austerity. If you put apple cider vinegar in water, you get austerity points for drinking the water. Sometimes I joke when I get prasadam and it doesn't taste good, and they say, "How do you like the prasadam?" And I say, "Human life is meant for austerity." That is a covered way of saying eating what you just cooked was a huge austerity. But of course, it's a joke. I wouldn't want to make anyone feel bad. But sometimes, you know what I mean. If someone doesn't know how to cook, yeah, eating their prasadam is an austerity. So, now, you see, Kishori Mani, I understand your question, and I understand it could be a symptom of low self-esteem if you neglect yourself. It's like, I don't care about myself. But when it's out of love for another person, it's different. Especially when it's out of love for Krishna, it's different. But if one neglects himself and it's not out of love for Krishna, then you're right. It could be due to low self-esteem. I'm worthless, I'm useless, I'm not going to take care of myself, and so forth. But let's look at Prabhupada. Every morning he went on a morning walk. Every day he had a massage before lunch. He had lunch at the same time every day. He had, I believe he took certain medicines, and he had massage at night. So, and he was, when I was in Los Angeles, every evening Prabhupada was hearing Krishna book in his garden. That was very regulated. So he definitely was taking care of himself. Although, from an external point of view, it looks like, well, he was only sleeping 2 or 3 hours and he would get up. He's like neglecting himself. But he slept in the afternoon. He never neglected himself. And if he ever berated himself, it was out of love. It wasn't out of low self-esteem. Do you know, this amazing thing happened, I believe it was in Mayapur. This is like, really mind-blasting. That's the Indian way of saying it's mind-blowing, or whatever the cliche is in your country. Prabhu's going to blow your mind. That was. I don't know if you realize this, but ISKCON is full of hippie lingo. Guess why? Because the hippies are the leaders. The people who are the seniors are the hippies. So all this spaced out, blow your mind, that's all drug talk. That's what happens when you take drugs. You blow your mind. If you're unfortunate, you blow your mind and you never find the pieces and you can't put it back together. That does happen. Or you space out and you just go off in some other unit. This is all, ISKCON is full of, you freak out. That's what happens when you Did you know that when you take LSD and you kind of lose it and you go a bit crazy? That's called freaking out. Isn't that funny? I have all these blow your mind, space out, freak out. It's all LSD terminal. It's all to describe the effects of the effects of what happens sometimes on LSD. Isn't that funny? Did you know that? Anyway, that's some trivia. So, now what was that? What was the last thing I said, Kishore Mani? I forgot. What was the last thing I said? Remind me. I forgot. What were we talking about? Yeah, feeling bad. Oh yeah, so this story, this amazing story. I went to bed at 1 o'clock last night. I couldn't fall asleep. And it's not good to be tired when you talk because you space out and you can't remember things. So anyway, I don't know why. I forced myself to go to sleep at 1 o'clock. Hare Krishna. So excuse me if I'm a little slow or don't remember something. So Prabhupada was in Mayapur and devotees came, very enthusiastic Mayapur festival. And Prabhupada said, I am not qualified to be your spiritual master. And everyone was like, did I just hear that? Is there, take the wax out of my ear. Is that what Prabhupada said? He said, you were all connected with Krishna consciousness in the past, and Lord Chaitanya sent you to help me. He said, you are doing everything. You are doing everything. So where is that coming from? We're doing everything. He's not qualified to be our guru. That's coming from profound humility resulting from love of Krishna. So if you think everyone's better than you, and that's coming from advanced Krishna consciousness, then all I can say is, let me touch your lotus feet, because that's a very advanced stage. And if you think that everyone's better than you due to low self-esteem, then we have to sit and talk about this. That's a problem. So it's the same words coming out of your mouth, but it's being generated by a different mentality. One is because of attachment to Krishna, and one is a psychological problem. So yes, Kishore Mani, it can be a problem if one has that tendency, and then we say, put Krishna in the center. It's this. I've seen this. It's very interesting, and I don't know if you're all aware of this, but we'll become aware of it now. I've seen that when you're speaking the philosophy of Krishna consciousness purely as it is, if someone has a psychological problem, like for example low self-esteem, what you're saying, although it's pure and it's correct and it's Siddhanta, Vedanta, it's what Prabhupada said, it can have adverse reactions on the devotee because it could make them feel very bad about themselves because they already feel bad about themselves. And so misunderstanding the philosophy, misunderstanding the context, misunderstanding exactly what it means, then becomes a catalyst for more self-denigration that's not coming from humility, but it's coming from some unhealthy psychology. So yes, it can be, although its intention is not to be. And so therefore, we need to understand more deeply what is humility, what it means to put Krishna in the center, that these things naturally happen when you advance. But sometimes when you have problems, it seems like everything just aggravates the problem. Like for example, I don't want to get into psychology class, but you asked the question, so I'll say a few things. So I ask you to do something, and then you do it, and then I say, oh, I need it to correct. You need to correct this and that. This has to be done this way. And then you tell your friends, oh, Mahatma Prabhu thinks I'm stupid. I'm so stupid. And I never said you're stupid. I just said you have to correct these things. These things, this wasn't done right. Maybe I didn't explain it to you clearly. Maybe you didn't understand. Whatever, no problem. Just have to correct it. The world will go on. Nothing big, no big dissolution, anything. But you're destroyed. I'm so stupid. Mahatma Prabhu thinks I'm stupid, and I was just trying to please him, and I know that's coming from you. And so what's coming from outside stimulates what's already in you, even though there was no intention of making you think that you're stupid. So that's the problem. That, I think I just hit it on the head. Dun-dun-dun-dun. That's the problem. The problem already exists, and then whatever comes to us, we interpret in a way to confirm whatever that problem is inside of me. Or something like, yeah, this just proves how stupid I am. Or this proves how useless I am. Or this proves I can't serve senior devotees. They'll never be happy with me because I don't know how to do anything right. It didn't prove any of that. That was already how you think. It's like, sometimes devotees say, I'm advancing in Krishna consciousness and I'm seeing all these bad qualities that are all coming out. And as I've said before, it's not that it's something new, it's just you're becoming aware of them. So, if something that we say stimulates this feeling of low self-esteem or whatever, it's not the fault of the person, what they did, what they said, it's not the fault of the philosophy, it's just in there. And so that's something we would have to think and say, okay, Mahatma Prabhu said, I need to improve this, and I took it that I'm stupid or I'm bad or I'm useless. That must mean that's how I feel and not what he meant. The Shastra says we should see our faults, but when I look at my faults, I just become depressed. So that must mean I'm not understanding what the Shastra means, or I'm having my own depression about myself and has nothing to do with the Shastric understanding of looking at my faults. That's how we have to see it. So if I'm hearing that, put Krishna in the center, keep myself out of the center, and then, I stop eating, I stop sleeping, I don't wash my clothes for a week, and whatever. I sleep on the rug on the floor with no blanket because I'm going to put my deity in my bed. Something crazy. Then you have to look at that's you. It has nothing, it's just the way you're processing everything wrongly, because obviously that's not what it means. I hope that answered your question. If it didn't, then just keep asking. And well, sometimes I answer, it's possible. You ever see in a class how sometimes you ask the speaker the question and they give this amazing answer that didn't answer your question because they didn't understand it. So that's always a possibility that he didn't understand your question exactly as you intended, and therefore, if I didn't answer it correctly, then please ask. Clarify. Okay. Before I go to the current questions, I'm going to go to yesterday's question. This is from Marina. And you might think Marina is from South America, but apparently in Russia they have this name, but maybe it's not pronounced the way they would in Mexico. But it's sometimes funny that I'll go to countries which apparently have nothing in common, and people have the same name. Very interesting. So this question from Marina, and Kamania, you can put it up. And it's a simple question. What attitude to Guru should the disciple have if she wants to go back to Godhead in one life? You do whatever the Guru says, and if you can't, you pray that someday you can. Because this is what I've said at initiation. I said, my duty as your guru is to take you back to Godhead, and your duty as the disciple is not to resist. So what does that mean? Well, my duty as your guru is to give you instructions or guide you to the books and instructions of Srila Prabhupada. Well, it's kind of it's one and the same. Give you instructions, guide you to Prabhupada. Give you Prabhupada's instructions, guide you to Prabhupada. Help you become closer to him, closer to Krishna. Give you instructions by which you can go back to Godhead. So the duty of the guru is he's like, here are the directions. And so you just have to follow the direction. So my duty is to give the direction. The duty of the guru, give the direction. The duty of the disciple is to follow. If you follow the direction, you go back to Godhead. So I say, here, Marina, you are here now in this city in Russia. I forgot the name of your city. Starts with an N, maybe? What's the name of your city? Can't ever remember. You're in Russia, so you're starting here, and you want to go to Goloka Vrindavan. So here's the map. This is how you do it. So I show you how to do it, and you say, okay, I will follow the map. And then you get there. That's the duty of the disciple, to follow the map given by the guru. And as Prabhupada said, if you don't follow, what can I do? I can only give you the map, but if you decide not to follow, then I can't do anything. So we are going to find out the city that Marina is in, and I'm sure those who are not from Russia have not heard this city. At least I never heard it. Of course, maybe you've heard it, but I never heard it. Okay, we have a question from Shama Saha. Saha means with. Shama Saha, with Shama. How can we learn our lessons faster and see Krishna's involvement in everything that happens? Sometimes the same patterns repeat and we can be slow in our learning. Yeah. Ultimately, everything's going to happen according to the intensity of your need, the depth of your need. How much do you want to be Krishna conscious, and how badly do you want it, and how quickly do you want it? And then you say, okay, that makes sense, but how do I want it more badly and more quickly? I think the three probably most powerful things to develop this intensity is association of senior people who have that intensity, regular hearing from Prabhupada's books, because Prabhupada will convince you of the need, and chanting purely as you can, because that will give you, on the emotional level, give you that desire to want to connect with Krishna very strongly. So if you do those two things, it's going to speed up your desire, your inspiration. And so you were asking, learn lessons faster. The more you want to become Krishna conscious, the more lessons you're going to learn, because you're more open. Like Krishna's giving us so many lessons all the time, and a lot of us just ignore the lesson or don't even notice the lesson. Isn't it? Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj has written a beautiful prayer, many beautiful prayers. The one that I remember, my dear Lord, whatever is getting in the way of my bhakti, my pure devotion to you, take it away. Just take it out of my life. And whatever I need to advance in my bhakti, give it to me. And by that he meant whatever difficulties I need, austerities, suffering, trouble, whatever it is, give it to me. We read that 2 days ago. Better have trouble that causes you to become a pure devotee and go back to Godhead in this life than have a nice life that causes you again to take birth. So this is what will happen when you execute devotional service well, in those particularly three things. And then, I said the fourth thing is dedicate yourself to the service of the mission of spreading Krishna consciousness. Fully give yourself to that, as far as you can, as far as your circumstances allow. Give of yourself to that. Give of yourself to others. And that increases your desire. And then as your desire increases, then what did you say? We'll learn our lessons. Yeah. you'll naturally learn your lessons. You'll become more aware of your lessons. You'll want to learn the lessons. You'll be more introspective. You'll be more humble. I think this question came out of the discussion of the false ego, inflating or deflating the false ego, and how spiritual life is not for inflating, it's actually for deflating. Prabhu, come here. Come here. What do you need? Come here, come here. Oh, I just saw your ego was kind of like swelling up. I just wanted to pop it. That's Krishna Consciousness. It's the popping ego program. So Prabhupada's trying to pop your ego, and then you go back. No, it's just like don't ruffle my feathers. It's like, I'm okay, way it is now, just, leave me alone. So if that's our attitude, then we don't get the lessons. Right? But if the attitude is, pop it, Prabhupada, pop it, I want it popped, I want to be Krishna conscious, then what would you say? The lessons, learn our lessons faster, see Krishna's involvement. Yeah, everything ultimately depends on desire. We know that, but then the natural question is how to get the desire. And then in the desire, it doesn't always just come out of the sky. You have to do things. Like you have to chant properly, read regularly, study, associate with advanced devotees. These things are extremely important. I'm sure you have this experience that sometimes, I don't know if you're not from America, if you know what this means, la-di-da. La-di-da is like you're singing. Like you're doing something, maybe you're fixing something. What do I have to fix here? Okay, this is broken. So I'm going to try to fix this. It's a cable. And while I'm doing it, I'm saying, la-di-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. You ever see people do that while they're working? They're just singing or whistling, or so I call that la-di-da bhakti. It's kind of like just cruising. We're just cruising. How's your bhakti, Prabhu? La-di-da-da-da. Yeah, we're just whatever. It's kind of like, how's your bhakti? Yeah, it is. It is. So it's like, you end up chanting la-di-da instead of Hare Krishna. So if you do la-di-da, okay, that's the name of today's class, is called la-di-da bhakti. And everyone's going to read that and think, what verse is that? La-di-da. So la means this, da means to give, ba-di-di means consciousness, la-di-da, giving consciousness. No, that's not what it means. It means I don't really care that much. It's like whatever happens. Prabhu, what about going back to God in this life? La-di-da-da-da-da-da. Whatever Krishna wants, like whatever, If I don't go back to Godhead, I'll come back, it's okay. La-di-da-da-da-da-da. It's like that. La-di-da bhakti. So, how many rounds? 16, 4 principles? Yes, your name is La-di-da Bhakti Devi Dasi. No, you don't want your guru to call you La-di-da. If I ever call any of you La-di-da Das or Dasi, then you'll understand what I'm talking about. What's the opposite of La-di-da Bhakti? It's what's the word? Deliberate. It's deliberate. No, I'm very deliberate. I'm very focused. Intentional. That's the word. It's very intentional. My bhakti is intentional. It's not la-di-da. It's intentional. So, it's a nice question. And then the next point you make. Sometimes the patterns repeat, and we can be slow in learning. The patterns repeat because we're not changing, because the events that are happening, you said it rightly, we're not learning, and that's why the patterns repeat. Because if you don't learn, then you do the same thing over and over again, so you don't lead. So, let me say that in English. If you don't learn, the patterns will repeat, because if you don't learn, nothing changes. And if you don't even, sometimes we don't learn, but we realize, oh, I should learn, but I just didn't. And sometimes we don't even realize there was a lesson. Oh, there was a lesson? Really? That was a lesson? Really? That was a lesson? I didn't know that was a lesson. Duh, of course that was a lesson. You didn't know that was a lesson? No, I didn't know. I didn't see it. Where did it go? There was a lesson there? So, that's a problem. You don't even see the lesson. And then the second problem is you see it and you're like, la-di-da-da, yeah, but, I'm not really ready for this yet. And you have to be real and, got to take it gradually and, can't, just surrender all at one time. And, it's like so many devotees have left because they try to surrender, and I'm not, I'm not that kind of devotee. And it's like, it's like the declaration, you written, in America we have the Declaration of Independence. You've just come out with a declaration of excuses, That's that symptomatic, maybe I should write a book. Lade da bhakti. What is the symptom? You have the declaration of excuses. Weren't we going to write that book, 108 excuses, 108 reasons not to surrender, And then we list them all. It's a gradual process. And every excuse will put before it. It'll be, or maybe the book will be called, Prabhu, ... Prabhu, so many devotees that left Krishna Consciousness, you can't, they were fanatic, you don't want to be too serious because, they were serious and they couldn't do it. Yeah, so that's the problem. And so we don't see the lesson, or the lesson comes and we say, Krishna, I'm only in the 2nd grade of bhakti and you're giving me a 6th grade lesson. I don't think I'm ready for it. But we could say, Krishna won't give you the lesson unless he thinks you're ready for it. Excuse me, I have to... You hear all the cracks. I have to stretch. Oh. You always have to stretch back. At least I do, because when we work, we're stretching forward. Okay, everybody, it's time to stretch. Stretch from your shoulders, not from the bottom of your spine. Stretch from your shoulders. Breathe. Yes. Okay, we're awake. So it all boils down to the same thing. How ready are you to be Krishna conscious? Then you'll see those lessons and you'll apply those lessons and see, and it's like, as they say, there's a word, I forget the word. There's a word to describe how we as human beings don't like to change. Who knows that word? There's a word. I just can't think of the word. But there's a word which means we don't want to change. So that's why we don't get the lessons, because we would have to change. Do you ever get a lesson and you know the lesson and you realize, if I actually do this, if I accept this lesson, I'm going to have to change. And then what happens the next second? I just totally forget the lesson and go on to eating our pizza. It's like a lot of times we do that because we don't want to change. Was it something statious? Homostasia. I think it's called homostasia. We don't want to change. So that's another problem. And we have to fight against homostasis, the psychological condition that we're just like, it's easier to do nothing. You know how easy it is to do nothing? It's really easy. You know why it's really easy? I'll tell you, because you don't have to do anything. That's why it's easy. Never thought of that. Prabhu, that's very profound, what you said about why it's easy to do nothing, because you don't have to do anything. Yeah, I never thought of that. Okay, that's funny, but it's true. It's easy to do nothing. Or another way of putting it is, it's easy to do what we do every day. It's easy to do what we naturally do, and it's hard to change. So if Krishna is giving you a realization or a lesson, which is going to require change, sometimes we have this little mechanism. Hey, you know this little mechanism in your mind? It's called the curtains come down. Queen Kunti talks about that. Maya Javanika Achanam, the curtain of Maya. You ever notice that curtain of Maya comes down? I didn't hear anything. I didn't see anything. I don't remember anything. Prabhu, did you go to class? Yeah. That class was heavy. Oh my Govinda, that was so heavy. What do you remember from that class? I don't want to remember anything. That was too heavy. I just want to go home and eat pizza. Actually, today, my service is going to be to forget everything I heard in that class because I don't want to do any of that. And if I think about it, I'm just going to feel guilty. So I'm going to go home and pull the curtains. Maya Javanika Achanam. The curtain of Maya has been pulled on my life. Have you had that experience before? Have you ever pulled the curtain of Maya when the instruction is just too heavy? I can't do that. I don't want to do that. It's too much. That's the problem. So keep the curtains open. That could be another name for today's class. Keep the curtains open. And then you'll be okay. So ultimately, that was a long answer to expand on the first thing I said, because we don't want to. That's why we don't see the lesson. We don't learn because we don't want to. And then when you don't learn, what do? You just keep doing the same thing again. Why? Because Krishna is trying to say, hello, I know the lights are on, but is anybody home? He keeps giving you the same lesson. Hello, knock, knock, knock. I see the lights are on. Knock, knock. But that's a sarcastic statement that we say in America. I don't know if you say it in your country. Somebody doesn't get it. Like, they're awake. You just told them, but it's like they're not getting it. They're not understanding it. The lights are home. The lights are on, but nobody's home. Like, are you awake? Did you listen to what I said? So Krishna's like looking at you and saying, hello, how dull can you be? I've just given you the lesson like 108 times, and you still didn't get it. Like, what's wrong with you? And the only answer I could give is, I don't want the lesson because I have to change. And I don't want to change. It's easier to do nothing. Why is it easier to do nothing? Because you don't have to do anything. That could be an interesting t-shirt, right? It's easy to do nothing. Why? Because you don't have to do anything. Well, I like that philosophy. So tell me, what is Krishna Consciousness? Oh, it's wonderful. You don't have to do anything. And you go back to Godhead. I like that philosophy. That's my style. If we get to this verse today, I don't know, but it's discussed in that verse, that philosophy. You kind of don't have to do anything and you get God. That's kind of what Christianity is, in some sects of Christianity, has evolved into. Pay little, get a lot. Do wrong, it's okay. Well, it'll be rectified. It's not really the philosophy. It is partially, but not entirely. Okay, so we're moving right along in... We have to make a logo. Can someone make a logo? Laugh your way back to Godhead, and then we can put that on Facebook Stay tuned tomorrow for Mahatma Prabhu's class. Laugh your way back to Godhead, and we'll have the title of each class. So we're already an hour into, you wouldn't even know, we're already an hour into Laugh Your Way Back to Godhead. Hare Krishna. Krishna Karshini. Her husband has a question. It seems it's impossible to avoid judging. What is the difference between judging in sattva and passion and in tamas? I think we answered that question. Oh, maybe we didn't. Well, I can give you a basic 1-minute overview of the three modes of nature. So in tamas, basically you do everything wrong. Everything's backwards, upside down. If it could be done wrong, if you're in tamas, you would definitely do it wrong. That's basically how it is. It's like there's no reference to Shastra, and it just gets you in trouble. Whatever you do gets you in trouble. Passion, the nature of passion is you might follow Shastra, you might not. But the nature of passion is you just do it because it will make you happy. It's not like in ignorance, it's like, yeah, this would make me happy, but it's too much trouble, so I'm not going to do it. In passion, you'll do it. But your motive is what'll make you happy. Ignorance is not even enough motive to do what'll make you happy, because that's too much trouble. Ignorance is, like do nothing. That's ignorance. And there's no just standards of rules and regulations and cleanliness. And goodness is shastric. You do it through the Shastra. So, let's say there's a situation and we have to point out a defect because someone is doing something which is problematic for the devotee community or problematic for somebody. Maybe it's someone's husband or wife, it's problematic. I have to point it out. So based on this definition, if you did it in Sattva Gun, you would do it through proper channels, proper Vaishnava etiquette, proper principles. So you would humbly approach some senior or humbly approach that person, and I don't mean to upset you, and you're such a great devotee, and I really respect your bhakti, but the other day in class you said this, and it kind of hurt me, or some devotees were hurt, and I just wanted to bring to your attention that we're in our country, there's sensitivity to this or that, something like that, and you're very humble, and it's done in a way that the person appreciates it. Thank you. Okay, I didn't know that. Thank you for telling me. So you're following principles, and the result is that everything is good. In passion, you may do it because it'll make you look good. I was the one. Nobody knew what was wrong except me, and I pointed it out. I should get a gold medal and 5 stars on my forehead for doing that. So, it's like, or once I point it out, then everyone will realize how bad this devotee is. And so why are you pointing it out? Because you don't like that devotee, and you want everyone to know how bad they are. Or you want everyone to know how great you are. So that would be more like passion. Like there's vested interest in there. You get something out of it. By finding fault, you get a sense of, I'm more righteous than anyone, or I'm more righteous than the people I'm finding fault with. You get this, there's some kind of ego gratification that you're going to get from doing it. That's passion. Interesting, isn't it? There's, in passion, you do things because you're going to get benefit in the field of mental or gross sense gratification or ego inflation, recognition. You're going to get something from it. That's what passion's all about. It's about achievement, getting what you want. And you might follow the Shastra. If you follow the Shastra, you only follow it because you're going to get something from it. And ignorance is just, everything's a mess. You're a mess. You mess up everybody. You just disturb. You're disturbed. You disturb everyone. All you can say is bad things. You have no clarity on the situation. You're completely slanted. You make up things. One of the aspects of blasphemy that Prabhupada talks about, which is like the lowest level of blasphemy, is you make things up and you put it out on the internet. Oh, so-and-so was doing this. It's totally made up. So that's kind of the mode of ignorance. It's obnoxious. It's toxic, obnoxious, disturbing. And you do it because you're disturbed. And you want to see people suffer. In passion, you don't necessarily want to see people suffer. Ignorance, yeah. If I can, say something and you'll suffer and you'll look bad and you'll be hurt. And, in passion, I don't really want to hurt you. I just want to look good. I want to, I'll hurt you if it gives me enough sense gratification, maybe. But ignorance, it's vengeance. It's really low. So that's how I would answer that question. Okay, we have, okay. So, hold on. We have a few questions from today's class. Yes? And then we'll start with Vijay Lakshmi's question. The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. Where's that? The Boy Scouts? Mahatma Gandhi? That's all in the Boy Scouts, I think. Sometimes wisdom is common. So, you get these quotes and say, so-and-so said it, so-and-so said it. And sometimes it could be that just people have misunderstood who said it, or it could be they both said it, because Krishna revealed it. Okay. Priyam Vadha. I always want to say Priyamadava. I heard last Sunday from Shruti Kirti Prabhu talking about Amekala, that she had a near-death experience during the last days, and she said, relevance. I am relevant because Krishna loves me. Very interesting. I'm relevant. I have value. In other words, I have value. I have meaning. Yes, Krishna loves you. The problem is, do you love him? Another t-shirt. Wow, our t-shirt company is growing with every class. The problem is not whether or not Krishna loves you. The problem is whether or not you love Krishna. It's not a problem for Krishna to love us. It is a bit of a problem for us to love Krishna. So the problem is not whether or not Krishna loves you. He does. The problem is whether or not we love Krishna. There it is. That's the problem. That's it. And our life is meant to solve that problem. And if you solve the problem, you're successful. And if you haven't solved the problem, well, then you get to come back. You failed the class. You're going to have to come back and take it over. When you're in school, what is worse than failing a class, isn't it? It's like, oh my God, I failed this class. I should have studied. Now I have to take it over. This teacher is so boring. I hate this subject. What could be worse than that? And you're like 13 and you fail a class that you hate. I hated science. I'd sit in my science class and stare out the window. I don't know. It's just my brain. Like, they're talking about this and that. And it's like these electrons and this electro force going through coil and then the electromagnetic frequency. And I'm like, huh? What does this have to do with anything? I had no interest in it. So to fail that class and have to take it over again would be like the worst torture for a 13-year-old to fail any class. So, same thing. Okay, if you don't love Krishna, you've failed the class. You have to come back and take it over and try again. And so, as I've often said, why waste time taking another body? Why not just graduate from the class in this life, then fail it and have to come back? 9 months in the womb? No. Not a good idea. I don't think it's a good idea. Okay. So now it's time for and here's the icing on the cake. And before Amekala thought that Krishna doesn't love her. Wow. So that is such a good story. That is such a good story. You don't want to wait till you die to realize that Krishna loves you. That's another good t-shirt. Don't wait till you die to realize that Krishna loves you. That's what happened with her, right? That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. That is powerful. So all of you who don't think you're lovable, don't wait till you're on your deathbed to find out that Krishna loves you. Oh, you didn't know about the ISKCON lingo? Okay, well, I have to explain it. For all you poor souls who are not living in either San Francisco or New York, Lower East Side, or Haight-Ashbury or Lower East Side, all those unfortunate, extremely unfortunate entities who entered bodies who were probably in your last life too old to be hippies, and then you took birth in or maybe you were hippies and you took too much LSD and you died, and then you took birth in 1969, 1968, 67. That could be. Okay, here's a little trivia for all of you. I don't know if you ever see videos of hippies and they're going like this? Not like they're dancing, they're just kind of like, or maybe dancing, there's music. Or they're like this. What was happening is that they were just going off and they're hallucinating, because that's what psychedelic drugs do. You hallucinate, things start getting bigger and smaller and colorful, and it's like you're in a different world. You're not present at all to what's going on. You're just sitting in the room and you're just like playing with things, and everything is, it's kind of like you're a 4-year-old. Everything's fascinating. And so sometimes you're just staring and you're seeing these hallucinations. That's called spaced out. That's where the word comes from. No, we use the word spaced out like I forgot something, or I'm not mindful. I'm doing 3 things at once, and I'm not doing anything right because I'm not focusing, so I'm spaced out. But it actually was a statement. Oh, what's going on with John? He's spacing out. It didn't mean he forgot to take his vitamins. It means he's in outer space somewhere. He's just tripping. Another word is tripping. We use that word in English, right? Oh, that was such a trip, or he's such a trip. Tripping was you're going off somewhere in the universe in your LSD experience. You're not your mind. You're no longer conscious of what's going on here. You're tripping somewhere. And freaking out was when you had a bad LSD trip, and sometimes they take too much LSD and they become paranoid or some emotional experience. That was freaking out. What was the other one? We had space out, freak out. I forgot the other one. Mind blowing. Oh yeah, that was. How was your trip? It was mind blowing. How was that? How was the marijuana? It was mind blowing. Yeah, it was like everything's about the mind and blowing it. And then that blew my mind also mean amazed me, or was really good. Anyway, that's my understanding. So let's go to Vijaya Lakshmi's question. Can you put it up, or is it up? Just now coming? Are we ever? Well, Vijaya Lakshmi, hold on. If I don't get to your question today, I promise tomorrow the class will be on your question. Because it's possible if I start now, I'm not going to do justice to it. And I'd rather not break it up into 2 classes. So, let's see where this goes. Let me take the other questions, and then the suspense of what we're going to talk about tomorrow and answering. Let me read your question. Let's create some suspense here so we can think about your question. Some cell group leaders at Bhakti Vriksha are in control mode. That's also known as what? Little Lord Brahma's. In the mode of Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma got that position because he likes to control. Did you know that? What's the fate of the Bhakti Vriksha leaders who like to control? Oh, they'll become Lord Brahma, no question. Lord Brahma, he once told Krishna, he said, I want to control, and I got this position as Brahma, but I'm burned out. I've had it with this control thing. I'm not into it anymore. Did you know that? Lord Brahma told Krishna at the age of 50, after he lived 50 of his years, he said, I'm burned out. Why did I want to become Brahman, like control everything? I'm over it. Yeah. So they're in control mode and jealous of someone's talents. Initially, it is used to depress me, but initially it used to, not is used to depress you, it used to depress you, right? Was it used to depress you or it used to depress you? But now I understand it was meant to reduce my false ego. I tried to serve that person more, but it failed. Finally, I gave up and distanced myself. This is a common situation. How are we to sustain the association? Yeah, so we were going to answer that question with Bhagavad Gita 9:30 and 31. But it could take a while to answer. So, let's wait. I think we'll answer tomorrow. Everyone, you can be thinking about this question. It's a good question. How do we deal with devotees, particularly leaders, who are not acting in ways which we think reflect well what Prabhupada would want, reflect well the teachings of Krishna, reflect well the standards of purity of a Krishna conscious person? How can we deal with them, and how do we sustain the association? How do we have a proper attitude, or how do we deal with leaders in a respectful way if they're always smashing us? And we feel maybe they're a little too heavy or hard or insensitive, they lack empathy. That could be part of the question. That is the question for tomorrow. Now we will continue. I have a question from Krishna Consciousness. I said yesterday that if we will surrender to Krishna and later on we will unsurrender, still Krishna considers us to be surrender. How to understand it? It means that... Didn't we answer this question? It means that if we will once say to Krishna, I surrender, Krishna will consider us to be his devotee no matter what we do in the future, even if we may fall down and even not want to be a devotee. Well, the examples Prabhupada gave were not examples of someone who just said, I surrender, and then went off to McDonald's, and then later to the party. It's not exactly like that. Go to the church, I accept Jesus, okay, sins are forgiven, everything's good, let's party. Woohoo! Let's get drunk. Why are you celebrating? I'm saved. That's not like that. And that's kind of like what it has become in some sects of Christianity, unfortunately. Or maybe Christianity doesn't teach that, but that's kind of how people started interpreting it. Maybe a little of both. So, the examples, 3 examples were given. Remember, we read this yesterday. 3 examples, yesterday or the day before. 3 examples were given. Jamil, Bharat Maharaj, and Chitraketu. And they all were devotees, and they all had done devotional service, and they had fallen away. So Prabhupada said, because they did devotional service, they were protected. Krishna would not forget them, and he arranged to protect them in different ways. And they went back to Godhead. So, Konteya Pratijanihi Nami Bhakta Pranashati. If someone just comes to the temple, it's like we could start a new philosophy, So someone comes to the temple and you say, this philosophy is amazing. All you have to do is say, I accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of God, and I surrender. All your sins are gone. At the end of this life, you will go back to Godhead and live eternally with Krishna. Woohoo, let's party. Let's go out, You know how many people would become devotees? We would be huge, and we would be phenomenally wealthy. People would say, wow, this is the religion I've been looking for. The religion that says, let's party, and you still go back to Godhead. We would have temples on every corner, every street in the world. People would be lining up to get in, right? So that's not exactly what Krishna is saying. Krishna is saying, if you say my name, Hare Krishna, you will take, now you're on the path of bhakti, your path has begun, you'll take human birth of life, you'll have a chance in the future to do devotional service. That's what he's saying. Back to Godhead? No. You say, Hare Krishna, okay, you've just been bathed, you're clean. Doesn't mean you're not going to get dirty again, but at least that has washed your soul enough that you will continue. Just surrender to Krishna, all your sins will go. That's true. But the second part of it is stop committing the sin. That's the part that Christianity got confused with. All men are sinful and have fallen short of the glory of the Lord. That's what they say. They'll ask you, are you sinless? Are you perfect? No man's perfect, no man's sinless. So, because of that, Jesus has died for our sins. He'll never become sinless. And to which Prabhupada said, 4 principles. One time, Vijay Lakshmi, they asked Prabhupada, Chinese medicine, make you sing like a Gandharva. And they asked Prabhupada, if someone's a Christian, what does it look like? What would they do? And he said, like us, chant the name of God, chant the name of Jesus. Like us, follow the 4 principles. So to be the same. So no one should ever think like what Jesus taught was different. This was like special, just say my name, say I surrender, and then go party. That's not the philosophy. Philosophy is, yes, you surrender, you stop sinning, but if by accident you commit sin, okay, that's forgiven. Continue, but don't take advantage. And Prabhupada would say that. You'll be forgiven, but don't take advantage. I think the problem with Christianity is they take advantage of it by saying we're not perfect. So it's almost like saying you really are always going to be sinful. You could never be. Which is true. You're going to step on ants and you'll think sinful thoughts. Now, we agree with that. But Prabhupada's point is, but these 4 things, don't do them. These sins you have to stop. For sure. So, and we have been talking, Krishna Consciousness, I've been making a point over and over and over again. It's the t-shirt I saw once. What's the least I can do and still get into heaven? See, that's the mentality we've been speaking against. So it's not like, well, if I take the devotional service but I give it up, how long do I have to take to it and still get Krishna's mercy? And if I give it up, what can I do and what can I not do and not be punished? It's like we don't look at it like that. Because everything is around what will please Krishna and Guru. That's how we think. Not like, what can I get away with? It's like reading the label. You're buying something, reading the label. And what's the threshold of what is like kind of considered, actually it's not really vegetarian anymore. It's like, well, maybe it's kind of vegetarian. Yeah, I think they put eggs in it, but not so much. Just like, there's only egg whites and not much. Oh, okay, we can eat that. No, it's not like that. That's like a bhakti burfi. That's a bhakti burfi moment. Yeah, but egg whites, they're actually good for you. And actually, it's never going to become an egg. And that's a bhakti burfi moment. Ladies and gentlemen, have you had a bhakti burfi moment lately? If you have, I have the cure for you. Srila Prabhupada's books. If you ever have a Bhakti Burfi moment, it's time to read Srila Prabhupada's books. Bhakti Burfi is like his brain doesn't work. He's like, he gets everything wrong. He tries to compromise everything. He doesn't understand anything correctly. If you've had a Bhakti Burfi moment today, you need an increased dose of Srila Prabhupada's books. Srila Prabhupada's books have been found to cure the most serious cases of Bhakti Burfiism known to humankind. So if you're suffering from Bhakti Burfiism, we suggest you increase your dosage of Srila Prabhupada's books. So somebody can clip that section and put it up on Facebook, and we'll have an ad for Prabhupada's books. If you have symptoms of Bhakti Burfiism, like rationalization, severe ignorance, and dysfunction of the brain, philosophical upside-downness, and absolute misunderstanding of everything Krishna conscious, then we have the cure. Bhakti Burfiism. It's a serious disease. Have you seen Bhakti Burfiism? Have you ever been attacked by Bhakti Burfiism? There's a story, it is so funny. I've told this story before, but I don't think all of you have heard it. This story is hilarious. This is a Bhakti Burfi story. So, these two 15-year-old boys, 14-year-old boys, they're watching a movie in what we have in America. It's called a den. You have a living room, what you call a lounge in other places, and a den if you have a nicer home. The den is where you just have the TV and you mess things up and play and just do whatever you want. In my neighborhood, we had dens. That was if I go to my friend's house, you could go in the den and just do whatever you want, but you can't go in the lounge. That's like where your parents go and have their friends, and it's kind of don't go in there unless you wash your toenails. It's kind of out of bounds. But the den is just go and do whatever you want in that room. The den was mess that room up, but the living area, the lounge, that was sofas, they got to keep them clean, and beautiful curtains and fireplace. Yeah, piano. In our house, we had a piano, big windows, curtains. That's the living room. And the den is the den was a big room. The dens were big rooms. So they're sitting in the den, these 14-year-old boys. It's a Saturday. Excuse me. It's a Saturday, and they're watching a movie, and their father walks in, and it's what are you watching? Because there were scenes of what looked like sex, or sex about to happen, and women half dressed. And he goes, "What are you watching? You're too young for this, not appropriate." And he said, "There's all these sexual scenes." And they go, "No, it's not much. It's just a little. It's not a problem. It's just a little bit, Dad, don't worry about it. It's there's hardly anything in there. It's just a little drop here and there. We're 14, just don't worry about it." So the mother wasn't there, but she used to make brownies when they would watch their movies. So he thought, okay, I'll make some brownies. So he makes some brownies. I don't know if this is a true story or not, but it is funny, especially if it is true. It's really funny. Probably not, but it's funny. He makes some brownies. And they go, "Oh, Dad, thank you for the brownies." And he sits down with them, and they start eating. And they say, there's something weird about these brownies. Dad, these brownies, they don't taste like Mom's brownies. Did you put something in them? It's just something's wrong. He said, "Yeah, I did. I went to the backyard, and Fido, Fido? Fido's a dog's name in America. Fido. That's a typical dog name. Although probably nobody has a dog named Fido, but it's just like when you say Fido, you know that's a dog's name. No human being would be called Fido, at least not in America. If your name was Fido in America, people would laugh at you. So he said, well, I went in the backyard and I took a little poop from Fido. I mixed it in the brownies, but don't worry. It's just a little bit, just a drop, not much, just a little drop here and there. You shouldn't worry about it. It's just a little bit, nothing to think about. So, yeah. Well, Prabhu, that's Maya. Yeah, but it's just a little bit. Not much. I wouldn't worry about it. That's a Bhakti Burfi moment if I ever saw one. I could say more about Bhakti Burfi, but you get the point. Yeah. Okay, time is almost up, but we have more questions. Who got that question? Simon Saha. Don't be a la-di-da bhakta. That is surely a jai-worthy moment. You'll put down a t-shirt and no one will have any idea what it is, and you'll have to give them a class for an hour to explain la-di-da bhakti. I think I got your question, Krishna. In British English, if a person is la-di-da, it means they're upper class posh. Or they think they are. La-di-da, Prabhu, la-di-da. Yeah, we fallen Americans, we have no culture. So we've, yeah. But that la-di-da is not going to work for me because it then doesn't follow class. Hey, you peasants. Get out of my house, you peasants. You're bothering me. Yeah, Hare Krishna. Pretentious. Yeah, okay. Person is la-di-da. Oh, this is not going to translate good because all the British devotees are going to misunderstand. So, yeah. We in America have fallen far from the culture of the British. We are so uncultured. All we know how to do is make money and play sports. Okay, I'm going to... Vijay Lakshmi says, I think in this context, homeostasis might mean maintaining status quo rather than maintaining balance. I've read about it in context of self-development, how we don't want to change. So, it could have various meanings according to the situation. The lights are on. Is anybody home? The lights are on, but nobody's home. This is an American sarcastic. Yeah. You talk to somebody, they didn't get it, and you go, yeah, the lights are on, but nobody's home. So Prabhus, don't have the lights on and not be home when you're reading Prabhupada's books. Yeah. Okay, we've got... Yeah, I answered your question. You'll have to go back if you came late. Would you illustrate with an example? What kind of lesson does Krishna give us during trying situations? Well, usually the lessons are reflections on our own anarthas, like why. It's like if there's a trying situation, then you get to reflect and say, how am I reacting? So let's say you just give up. Well, what's the lesson? The lesson is, I give up when things are difficult. I shouldn't give up when things are difficult. I have to try harder, or things don't come easily, or Krishna wants to see my effort. Things of that nature. Or I'm so unstable now because things are difficult. I can't maintain equilibrium. Why? Why is that? You're probing, you're looking at how you're responding, you're looking at what you're doing in the situation. Somebody tells you something, and how did you respond? Maybe you responded with anger or jealousy, or you got angry. I mean, you just withdrew. So you're learning to reflect on, what am I supposed to learn now? Well, I just learned this is the way I react to this situation. Maybe you'll realize you have some fears. Maybe you'll realize you have some conditioning. You just need to reflect. So it could be different in so many ways for so many situations. It's said that Krishna is giving a devotee only lessons that a devotee can digest. So why we sometimes are not able to digest. I think it's Krishna's will only give you challenges that you can, but not necessarily lessons. He's giving you lessons, and it's up to you whether you chew enough ginger to digest them. But I would say potentially he's giving you lessons that are digestible. But it's up to you to digest them. He won't give you orders or services that are beyond your capability. But you may think they're beyond your capability. So that's there also, right? So I think it goes back to my original point. If I'm not ready for it, then I'm not going to be able to digest it. But I would say, Krishna Consciousness, if Krishna is giving it to you, then it's digestible. But you may have to just chew more ginger to be able to digest it. He's giving it to you because it can be digested. That was what I would say. And not willing to change because it just, conscious effort. It requires conscious effort. It's so much easier to do nothing, isn't it? Sometimes it's so hard to change because homeostasis means I've always been this way. It's so difficult to do it another way. It's like if I go to England, there's certain words that in England you pronounce differently than we pronounce in America. Like we say schedule and you say schedule. So if I go to England, it would be proper for me to say schedule, just out of respect, so you know what I'm talking about. Or there's a few other words that dynasty, little, not just accent changes, but different pronunciations. So, but because my whole life I said dynasty and schedule, that's just a hassle to try to remember to say schedule. That's weird. To me, schedule sounds weird, and to Kamaniya, I'm sure schedule sounds weird. What's your schedule, Prabhu, today? My schedule today is, I can't remember. We say, I can't remember, Prabhu. I just can't remember. Such a pity, I cannot remember anything. And so for me to speak like that would be difficult because I'm so used to speaking the other way. So in the same way, we're so used to having certain attitudes, to thinking certain ways, to certain behaviors, to certain responses. And they may be wrong, they may be bad, but we're so used to it. It's so hard to change it. And that's why I was joking, saying it's easy to do nothing because that's just what you do. It's the way you do it. You don't have to do anything. And actually do it differently. It's like a shock for the system. You've been doing it one way all your life, and then you finally find out when you're 50 years old, that's the wrong way. Like, there's a word, duplicitous. It's not a word. It's duplicitous. And you may not know that the word is not duplicitous. Oh, that person's duplicitous. No, that's not the word. It's duplicitous. But all your life you said duplicitous. My daughter's listening to B.B. Govinda, and he says, he doesn't say magnanimous, he says magnanimous. Magnanimous. And she's saying it's so funny. He says magnanimous. For some reason, that's how he says it. And so if you say Maharaj, it's magnanimous. Really? I thought it was magnanimous. It's like you're just used to doing it. It's like it's unnatural. Do you realize that these things are in your cells? Do you know that? Like your certain behaviors is just like it's programmed into your cells. So that's why it's so hard to change, but it's so necessary to change. So that's a little. Kamini says, I'm reading Shamasundar's book, Chasing the Rhinos with the Swami, and learning a lot about hippie movement. Yeah, he was like the archetype hippie. Archetypical hippie. Shamasun. He was right there in Haight-Ashbury when it was happening, and he knew all the leaders of the hippie movement. Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to understand what it means to be a hippie, read Chasing the Rhinos, and you will know. It will take you there to San Francisco, Haight-Ashbury. You will live it again. I think a lot of people, like, the people that like the Grateful Dead, they lament, I was born too late. They were probably hippies in their last life. Mind blasting. Prabhuji, it is mind blasting only. Yeah. Bandar Soma, sometimes when Indians speak for us as Americans and probably for Britishers, it's really funny. You have no idea how funny it is. So, today we worship the God. And we hear that, the God. And to us, that sounds like a cartoon character. Because we don't say the God. What to speak of the God. It's very entertaining for us when we are in India. We have fun sometimes, but as Indians, you may not know that sometimes it's funny. Of course, when we try to speak Sanskrit, you probably laugh also. So, we entertain one another. Cinderella says, because when you're in space, you don't feel this hole in your heart, a hole the size of God. Maybe. But Cinderella has much experience with LSD, so she's sharing her realizations. But there's one good thing about LSD, although I cannot recommend it to you, it brought a lot of people to Krishna consciousness. But having said that, I don't recommend that, if that's true, Prabhu, we should put LSD in the prasadam and then they'll have these trips and they'll become devotees. No, I don't think we can do that. So Anastasia says, could you please tell where the mode of goodness begins and how to get into goodness? It begins at 4 a.m. If you are surrounded by people in other modes, there is no one around. Okay, where does the mode of goodness begin? It begins at 4 a.m. That's where it begins. Where does it end? About 8 o'clock in the morning it ends. Where does it begin? When you're chanting Hare Krishna and you're reading Prabhupada's books associated. Where does it end? When you go to Facebook. Yeah, it's pretty much downhill from there. Well, unless you're watching something Krishna conscious. The problem with Facebook is you watch something Krishna conscious and something else comes up, right? Where the mode begins. How do you get in the mode if you're surrounded by people in other modes? Social distancing is very good for being Krishna conscious. Yeah, you get a mode meter, and you put it up to them, and they go, oh, you're heavily in the mode of ignorance. I need to distance myself 20 meters from you. You're only in passion. I can be 10 meters from you. You're in goodness. I want to embrace you. Yeah. The principle is associate with people who are more Krishna conscious, and then if we have to associate with people who may have whose consciousness may degrade our consciousness, we just have formal interactions so we don't vibrate so much. We don't pick up on their frequencies, but rather we give them our frequencies. There's a lot of passion and ignorance out there. That's the problem. Fired out is when your trip so long, smoke starts coming out of your ear holes. Oh, I never heard of fired out. Oh. Never came down. Yeah, we had friends that took LSD, and it's like, after like 12 hours, they're still up there after 24, 30, they never like what happened to John? And I don't know. He's like dysfunctional for 3 days. I had 2 friends that actually killed themselves on drugs. What a time to be raised. Hare Krishna. Michael Green. If they don't follow his instructions, they're not his disciples, they broke the contract. Yeah, that's also there, what it means to be a disciple. Follow the contract. And if you broke it, come back and follow again. No one is always on one mode, Vijay Alachua says, but if Prabhupada said if the association is not very good, we must avoid them. Prabhupada used the phrase, respect from a distance. Tanya says, from a Baptist preach, God knew his people in advance, and he chose them to become like his son, so that his son would be the firstborn among many brothers and sisters. Romans. You call to become like Jesus. This doesn't mean you're going to become like a God. We'll never be little mini-gods. That's not going to happen. But God does want you to become godly, exactly, to become like him. He wants you to take on the characteristics of Jesus, who is loving, joyful, peaceful. Yes, perfect. Let's hire that priest to become temple president in ISKCON. He understood it. He's made in the image. Bhakta Burfi virus is attacking me from time to time. Yes. Krishna Consciousness sometimes suffers from Bhakta Burfiism. Bhaktin Burfiism. Does Bhakta Burfi ever make progress? Bhakta Burfi makes progress when he reads Prabhupada's books, understands the philosophy. La 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 might work. Okay, la la la. All right, we have to adjust for the British audience so they don't misunderstand. Sadhguru says, I so much want to title this class, Are You Doing the La-Di-Da Bhakti? Well, it might have to be La 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 Bhakti. She titles the classes. I give a description before, but I don't always say exactly what I said I was going to say in the description. Why Krishna is giving a devotee service that a devotee is falling down because of doing this service. That's misuse of a devotee's discrimination and how to apply bhakti. If you don't take care of yourself, then you may fall down. So it's not the fault of the service, but it's the mentality with which we do it. So a devotee may, like, for example, devotees were complaining. They were going on Sankirtan. During the week, they would go to shopping centers, grocery stores and shopping centers. And it was mostly women shopping, at least in those days. A lot of the women weren't working. They were shopping. So these young men are speaking to women all day, and they told Prabhupada, he said, this is difficult. And he said, it's not the fault of book distribution. It's the mentality. So that's how we have to see it. If I'm not taking care of my bhakti, anything can cause me to fall down. Australians pronounce day as die. How's your day going, Prabhu? Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Oh, glories to Prabhupada. How's your day going? That Australian accent, yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Good day, Prabhu. Yeah. But my daughter's better at accents than I am. I'm okay. I like the French accent. It is, you must feel it. It is not so much about what is true, but it is about what you feel. That is most important. I think like this myself. Yeah, so you French people, when you become devotees, that's one of the obstacles, Feeling is good, but everything you feel is not true. Don't believe everything you feel, and don't believe everything you think. You should not believe everything you feel, because it is not always the truth. Yeah, that's Yeah. I studied French, so. But still, my daughter's better than I am. That's all I can say. She is better. She can do a perfect Aussie accent. Perfect. She can do a perfect Russian. Perfect Indian. Chinese. South American. British. She can do Australian. She can do New Zealand. New Zealand is like Australians on steroids. Oh, that's New Zealand. I got New Zealand. I did too much, so I'm Australian on steroids. Good eye, mate. Good eye, mate. Good eye. My point is that Krishna knows the future and knows that a devotee will fall down out of doing certain service, but still he's letting a devotee do this service. That is a bad argument. Krishna knows everything. Yeah, and he knows we're stupid and we're going to do something stupid. But therefore, it is his fault because he knew I was going to fall down and he gave me this service. I'm innocent. It's his fault. I still want to go back. I deserve to go back to Godhead. He gave me that service and he knew I couldn't do it. It's not fair. That is a bhakti burfi moment if I've ever seen one. Krishna Consciousness has just incarnated as Bhaktin Burfi with that question. You are always responsible for your decisions. And we're responsible. Krishna just knows we're going to do something stupid. He knows that because he knows everything. Please imitate Spanish speakers talking English, por favor. Oh, but you're Spanish. I can imitate. Oh, Mom. Because, I'm from Mexico. I can only do the Mexican accent. But, you have to be in the mood. I grew up in California. Oh, man. Yeah, so we had I don't know, but, yeah. Kind of lazy today, man, I didn't check my rounds, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I didn't check my rounds, I'm feeling good, so... take some prasad. And I'm not in the mood for Spanish yet. We got to get my daughter. She can do the Colombian. Perfect. Colombia. I'm from Colombia, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, from Colombia. The spiritual world is this room full of LSD. And when you have your experience, the world under LSD, you understand what Prabhupada was talking about. And immediately really want to go to the spiritual world. I used to think something like that when I was first a devotee. I think, is it like LSD? They're describing the spiritual world. I go, kind of sounds like LSD. LSD is material. Spiritual world is spiritual. And I remember telling Guru Maharaj that the dust from Radharani's feet is better than LSD, and it sounded very convincing. You telling me, yeah. Sindhilali took too much LSD. There's too much faith at LSD. And I said, the dust of Radharani's feet's better. So yes, much better. The Baptist priest is the writer of the book, The Purpose-Driven Church. Oh yeah. Which even some ISKCON gurus cite. Yeah, hey, I have the book on my shelf. There it is. The Purpose-Driven Life and The Purpose-Driven Church. And I haven't read either one, but I got the books. I don't know where they came from. I should read them. I know they're good. Such words are very inspiring to understand how beautiful Krishna is and the spiritual world is, and that all these synthetic substitutes only show a fraction. Yeah, it's material. That's all. I'm engrossed in the 10th canto right now, as per your suggestion. Yeah, it helps your japa to read the 10th canto. I suggested to Michael, read the 10th canto. He wanted help with japa. Could I add another point about Amalika? Yeah, please. That I missed. During that time when she left her body, she also saw Prabhupada, who came down personally to take her back home, back to Godhead, and she used to think that Prabhupada was disgusted with her. Prabhupada didn't mention anything on why she thought that way. Wow! 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 That is amazing. That is jai-worthy to the infinite degree. Prabhupada doesn't love me, Krishna doesn't love me, Prabhupada's upset with me. It's all nonsense. Prabhupada is merciful. This is so wonderful. Any devotee that ever feels this way, tell them this story of how she felt and how Prabhupada came to her, was pleased with her, to take her back home, back to Canada. That is so important and powerful. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, she was, and the other thing, she was an amazing devotee, but she didn't think she was. Okay, we went way over time. That's going to cost you an extra 10 rupees for today's class. You can send your donations. Okay, I found out, as a point of information, someone was asking last week, can we give donations? And I said, sure, you can give donations on my website. You hit the donate button. But also you can give on Facebook. It's all set up. I think PayPal or whatever. However, you hit the donate or the PayPal. So if you want to give donations on PayPal, on the Facebook page, you can. That's that. I don't know how to do it. I've never tried, but someone can try and see if it works and let us know. Be nice to know if it works, because I'm telling you it works, but somebody can give $1 or something. Check it out and let me know. Of course, you can give more if you want, but at least try it and see if it works. So I'm going to go. Thank you very much. And tomorrow, my promise to Vijaya Lakshmi is we're going to answer her question about how to deal with devotees that don't always behave like devotees. Or at least we don't think they do. Very important question. Thank you. Hare Krishna. We will see you tomorrow. And what is today? Today's Tuesday, right? Yes? Today's Tuesday, right? So we have Spanish class tonight, 7 o'clock New York time. You're all welcome. And Español, no hablo español, no tengo dinero. I used to distribute books. I'd say, ¿puede dar una donación? I'd say, no tengo dinero. I have no money. Can give you a donation. I have no money now. Maybe tomorrow. I said, don't trust tomorrow. Maybe now you give something. You check your pocket, give some change. Oh, please. And they'd always have money if I was insisting. Just give something. And then they give something, and I'd say, can you give something more? The famous last words of the book distributor after you ask for a donation. Poquito más in Spanish. Oh, lo que sea, give something, give anything. And they'd give you almost nothing. I go, oh, can you give a little more? Famous last words of the book distributor. Can you give a little more? Can you give some more, Mom? Hey, you don't give much donation, you know. I'm poor monk. We need to collect money, help the people. You can give some more donation. What do you think? You know, is it okay with you? You don't say you say Jew. It's okay with Jew? How Jew know? If Jew know you give donation, then Jew be good man. You jack good karma. Yeah, that's how you say it in Spanish. Jew, not you, Jew. Okay, that's enough. If I don't stop now, this is going to go on all day. And we all have service to do, okay? Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, go Premanandi. Laugh your way back to Godhead. Yes, laugh your way. Laugh at Maya. Always laugh at Maya. Otherwise, Maya's going to laugh at you. Another t-shirt. That's a good one. Laugh at Maya, or Maya's good. If you don't laugh at Maya, Maya's going to laugh at you. Hare Krishna. That's a good one. Or laugh at Maya, otherwise Maya will laugh at you. It's better you laugh at her and see how she's trying to trick you than her laughing at you that she tricked you. Right? You agree? Better you're laughing that, haha, you tried to trick me, but I knew what you were doing, other than she's laughing at you, haha, tricked you, got you, you didn't know I was coming from the back, you're so stupid, I got you. She's going to laugh at you, you're going to laugh at her. So, good Mexican accent. Yeah, I don't have the Colombian accent, it's different. I don't have that one. My daughter has Colombian. Because she went to school with Russians, Colombians, Chinese, Australians. So she grew up with them, so she could imitate them. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. It's time to go. Thank you. We'll see you tomorrow. Hare Krishna.